Well, 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 we have come to the end of our lesson. Now it is time to put all of this information to work. What you have learned up until now is what we refer to as the software of building the appliance. Now let's get into building the hardware of it. You have two options. You can make the appliance yourself, have your own lab, or find your own lab to have these made, or send us the models of your patients, the impressions that you made of your patients, and we will make the soft appliance for you, send it back to you, and then you will make the adjustments and make the contours. I want to explain to you a little bit what you're going to be seeing in this video. First of all, the background noise that you're hearing is the fan going on in the room. It's 100 degrees outside. The room that we're in, his exam room, gets so hot. And we had to have this fan going. There was just no way to shoot this video without this fan. So, as you hear this background hum, I've done my best to reduce the background noise. So, bear with us. We had to turn on this fan. Dr. Whitley also made this very archaic, very primitive model with egg cartons and cardboard representing the tongue. So bear with us as we get more professional in our modeling. But the eggshells, the egg cartons, is a brilliant idea because it shows the four bicuspids and the bicuspids. And so anyway, you will see Dr. Whitley moving it around. The one thing I want to help get in your mind is that he's using two egg carton containers, and there's only the two of them. And visualize that it is an arch. So I want to be able to make these explanations ahead of time because he had to move them around because the tongue can move the back teeth out. And you need to make an alley as if it is a bowling alley. Visualize that. A bowling alley, when you put the gutters up, the way I bowl, so put the gutters up so that the ball doesn't go into the gutter rails. Visualize that because that is a very good analogy of what he is doing. So bear with us. Visualize the tongue, visualize the bottom teeth in this very primitive model with the egg cartons and the cardboard. I think you'll get the picture. Now let's teach you how to best help your patients.
This part of the course is really core. I mean, the other stuff makes it work, and you have to have it. It's the software, if you will. That's the hardware. And I've got an old rotary phone in my desk that is very primitive. It was used with a copper hardware to talk to people. It was a party line phone. I mean, it was absolutely totally different than the smartphone that I carry in my pocket that does everything. I mean, it's amazing what this is smaller, and yet it's capable of doing so much more. This little baby right here can change this entire person's life, or cause them not to want to live any longer if they didn't have it, which was the case I shared with my daughter. She was having all kinds of headaches, neck aches, back aches, all kind of GI problems, all kind of emotional stuff, learning problems. We had her everywhere, alternative and allopathic. Nobody could touch the core issue, and eventually she had a panic attack, took her life. Second daughter, we almost lost to anorexia, which is, I promise you, just a variant of the same monster dealing with the autonomic nervous system. What we're dealing with is very, very, very important to get out. That's why we're doing the film, I think. Yep. So I want to show you what we've done. This is would be like a model. The egg carton are the teeth. This is the third molar. It's got 4 cusps. Second molar, first molar. Bicuspid, the second bite. This is the first bite. The reason that's important is the first bite has half of the tooth, essentially the anatomy missing. So this is heaven on earth. You got a midline and you've got the teeth lined up. But what happens when you have a terrible event or some tragedy occurs, you pump out adrenaline, and if your tongue isn't positioned properly, you don't get the air you need, so you clench and the tongue puts pressure, and a lot of times you end up with one side quite different than the other side. And I had a pair of models nearby where this person experienced just that. They had a 4 bicuspid extraction. So that changed, that took this guy out and moved everything up so that the arch size was diminished by 2 teeth on the bottom and 2 teeth on the top. So therefore you crowded the tongue. So when this was all brought together, the arch size was diminished by a tremendous amount, and the tongue can't get in. Just to demonstrate this phenomena, this is how the tongue is supposed to lay, but when you end up crowding it, it all goes down the back of the throat and can't get up into the mouth, so it gets down below and tries to push things out, attempting to correct the right or the wrong that's been dealt with it, and you get these weird looking little sawtooth appearances on the teeth on the side of the tongue. When you see that, that's a red flag. That person's a bruxer and their tongue is not getting in. It's dropped down, and it's like a 10-gallon tongue trying to get in a 5-gallon bucket. So what we do is we restore the relationship that should have been after the bicuspids were extracted, or that the arch or the teeth have been pushed out like that, by putting an appliance in that allows you to take care of and line up the teeth again according to that line. See, if you've got a line on both sides that's well supported, the tongue will come in. If you take out and shorten the circumference of the available space for the tongue, it's going to get trapped, and most of it's going to be down the back of the throat, including the airway. You can verify this with a cephalometric x-ray, and you will find that many times the first thing you see is a tongue that is jammed right against the back of the throat. There are other times where it looks lost in space because you got the same problem. It's just a little different view of it, but the cephalometric or lateral x-ray usually gives you enough information to sense. So, and we want the tongue to come up through this groove that's there. So what we've done is created a place so that when the tongue comes in, it hits on the back and then comes up through this shape that we have created, so that instead of being all on the line, some of it, when the tongue comes in, it's hitting the bulk on the left, and then it comes over to the other side where there's another place that it's shaped, and it forces the tongue farther forward and up onto the teeth. This particular arrangement here would be as if we had a second molar here, and on the right side had taken some off of the contact so that the tongue can bounce off of this in the back The tongue comes in off of this, pushes over here, hits that, and then comes on up, and you have created on the appliance this anatomy, so that you're actually guiding the tongue right up back to where it should be. If there's a third molar, we tend to leave it out and let the tongue come in this way, right here. Seldom do we work with the third molar.
These here are a simulation of what the appliance would look like.
The sides of the appliance.
Yes.
It's too simple to say it looks like this, because we have to get that tongue out of the back of the throat, so as soon as it starts coming in, it hits the left side of the appliance, which is overly contoured, and then under contoured on the first molar, and at that point it will come up through that groove and start resting on the top again. It will come, as it hits this, it bounces on that side, hits this, and then hits that, and comes up through that groove. We'll go over it in, detail over and over again, but it's the point that the appliance has to be contoured. So I'm adjusting this so he has a little groove back here. And I'm taking a little off of the right side so he can come farther forward. And maybe even reducing a little bit back here, letting him come up into the central groove. Okay, so we have a problem in that this person was out here. The tongue had pushed these teeth out. This would be your second molar, first molar. These are the forecuspid on the first molar, the bicuspid, second bi, and the first bi. So if you could imagine that with acrylic, we can paint this whole thing white and then watch how the tongue comes in. Now, as I said, if the third molars are there, we usually don't get excited about dealing with them because they're too close together in the back of that little triangle that's formed. So we start usually at the back of the second molar, and you want this to touch this line that we're going to show you how to draw down the cast, and the contour of that tooth has to be in line with that line. You can't go over it. There's some sacred parameters that prevent problems with speech, swallowing, and speaking. So we take our appliance, and we cover it with PIP, and then we have them say Mississippi, 66, Church, Lucky Lucy, Lady Liberty, 33. And then we give them a cup of water, and we have them take the water in their mouth, set it back, and look straight ahead and swallow it. That's kind of a forced swallow instead of cheating. They have to hold their head correct. And what that does is mark, a lot of times the tongue, as it's coming in, is slamming into the back of this, okay? And it's marking down here. You want the tongue to come up here. So you have to mark that with PIP, and then you have to relieve it and you keep relieving it till you get the tongue up here. And then on the other side, you have to do the same thing. You're not, shouldn't be contacting much there on the back. And then no more contact should occur in the back, but all of a sudden you may have the same contact occurring here, and you have to take it off. So we're facilitating the tongue getting up from a position that's keeping the tongue in the base of the tongue in the back of the throat. We have and will have a lot more to do with the talking about the tongue, but you have to have the picture that with some pip, and you put it on the tongue side and on the top of the appliance, you will see how that tongue is moving over the teeth, and you'll be able to guide the tongue back into the proper position, which is really laying on top of the teeth and covering a little bit of the front teeth.